Unexpected events could change your life forever. Who can you turn to for help and support? For over 40 years, Bryden's compensation lawyers have been helping people put their lives back together. Start putting your life back together. Call Bryden's today on 1800 848 848.
This Triple M NRL Preview.
Spectacular try.
Brought to you by Bryden's Lawyers.
Well, here we are for, it's not the NRL preview this week, it's the Rep Weekend preview, and we're going to have a bit of a talk about Joey's predictions come September for what his top eight's going to end up like after having a look at the first third of the competition. But Joey, Australia versus New Zealand tonight. Look, I'm not going to ask you who's going to win because, I mean, let's be fair, Dinkum, the Aussies are about $1.06. But can you see the Kiwis doing much at all?
No, I look at the creative positions. You know, we all talk about the spine, the hooker, the half, 5'8", and fullback. If you look at the Australians, halves and hookers and fullback, probably the best we've ever had in 100 years, arguably. Then you have a look at the Kiwis, hooker and halves and creative players, young guys. Isaac John plays New South Wales Cup, and you're comparing him to Thurston and Cronk. Ben Henry, a back rower who's playing hooker, compared to Cameron Smith. You know, they'll be spirited early, but they just haven't got the finesse and the class. I shake my head at some of the selections of the Kiwis.
It's disappointing that spine. I mean, you got Inglis there playing in the Australian side. You know,
could be one of the best, most entertaining players ever to wear the Australian jersey. And you know, some of the selections for the Kiwis, you got to scratch your head. But it's their decision, and I suppose they've got to live by that. But it's disappointing for me that Sonny Bill Williams isn't there. The reason he's not playing is because in protest he was named in that Stillknock affair in England.
It was
to name him and Kieran Foran was a disgrace.
Now, Joey, City versus Country is on, and we've had 20 players pull out of the City Country. I mean, we're both country boys, so we believe in the fixture. Are you looking forward to the game?
I'm looking forward to it. I think it'll be, you know, and everyone's bags the concept, but what we don't see is how much good work's going on behind the scenes during the week, going to schools, promoting the game out west. And if they inspire a couple of kids to keep going on with the rugby league career, which then they go on to play NRL, then they're doing their job. They understand they're going to have upwards of 10 to 12,000 people there at Dubbo. Considering the population is only 40,000,
that's
makes
very
it
good.
A pretty special crowd. But it gives young guys an opportunity to understand what playing in rep footy is about, how to experience the week in camp, how to prepare himself to a game where they're not familiar with a game plan. And you look, for example, at Boyd Cordner. He played country last year, wasn't on the radar for Origin, ended up playing Origin, ended up playing for Australia, all because he played for country Origin. So I think there's a place for it.
It's a shame, you know, when you have a look at the Kiwi side that was named, looking back, I mean, hindsight's a luxury, but you could almost play the test match out in the country area and would have created a lot more interest in the Allianz Stadium tonight. Joey, we're officially a third of the way through the NRL season. After you've had a look now and form is starting to take shape in the competition, what is your revised top eight?
Well, I think the top four sort of, those teams will fight out for the premiership. There's a big gap between the top four teams and the rest. And in no order this is, I think Manly Seagulls will be in the top four, the Bulldogs, South Sydney and the Roosters. So if you're picking premiers, pick out of those four. I think the premiers will come out of those four. And then the fourth to eight, I think the Tigers will be there, the West Tigers. I think the Titans, the way they're playing, I think they'll be in the top eight. And then I think the Cowboys will sneak in, even though their form's been patchy. I think they showed signs against Para last week that they're the real deal when they get it right. And the last position, I couldn't split between two teams. I think Brisbane may be there, and my big smoky for the eight is the Warriors, especially now with this representative period, State of Origin coming up. They don't have hardly anyone representative, so they should be picking up 4 or 5 wins during that time. And if they get it right, the Warriors, well, they could make the eight. And who knows, they pop their head up every 5 or 6 years and do something special. Who knows with the Warriors?
Mine's just about the same. The only difference, I was sort of fiddling around with a couple of sides at the end there. I look at the Dragons. The Dragons are capable, and I tell you what, I like the Dragons' chances to slip it in the bottom of the eight if they sign Benji Marshall and Benji starts to get upwards of what he's capable of.
The worrying sign for me with the Dragons, they've been spanked twice this year. Once by South Sydney with the big pack. They just could not contain South Sydney's pack, and then the Anzac Day versus the Roosters. The Roosters only beat them by 20 points, but on the day, watching it live, they just rolled their forwards. They got a small forward pack. They struggle to contain the big forward packs.
Well, actually, I'll take the Dragons out there and put
Thank
someone
you.
else in Parramatta maybe. Okay, that's our. That was our preview for this week. Have a good rep weekend, and we'll speak to you next week.
Triple M rocks the NRL.